Aggression is an elemental force, deeply embedded in the very fabric of human nature. It is neither an aberration nor a mere byproduct of social conflict, but rather an instinct that has shaped the evolutionary trajectory of life itself. As Konrad Lorenz argues in On Aggression, this impulse, though often maligned, is neither inherently evil nor something to be eradicated. Instead, it is a vital component of survival, a mechanism that has ensured the success of species by maintaining balance, defining territories, and reinforcing hierarchical structures. To understand aggression is to understand the fundamental forces that govern human interactions, from the intimate bonds of familial relationships to the vast complexities of geopolitical struggles. Lorenz, a pioneer in ethology, saw aggression not as a pathology, but as a deeply ingrained biological function, one that has been honed by natural selection over millennia. Unlike Freud, who viewed aggression primarily through the lens of psychoanalysis, or Skinner, who emphasized behavioral conditioning, Lorenz approached the topic from a zoological and evolutionary perspective. He observed that aggression in animals serves a crucial role in preventing excessive population growth, maintaining genetic diversity, and ensuring the stability of ecosystems. In this light, human aggression is not a mere defect of civilization, but rather an ancient inheritance, one that must be understood and channeled rather than denied or repressed. However, the dilemma of modernity lies in the fact that, while aggression was once a necessary tool for survival in the wild, civilization has dramatically altered the conditions under which it operates. The same instincts that once enabled our ancestors to hunt, defend, and establish social order now manifest in ways that can be destructive when unregulated. In primitive societies, direct physical confrontation often determined social hierarchy, but in modern civilization, these instincts have been sublimated into economic competition, political struggle, and even ideological warfare. What was once an adaptive trait has now become a source of potential catastrophe, particularly when paired with technology that amplifies the destructive capabilities of human aggression. One of Lorenz's most compelling arguments is that aggression, like all instincts, requires outlets. When it is suppressed without healthy channels for expression, it can erupt in dangerous and unpredictable ways. He warns that the mechanization and bureaucratization of society may inadvertently stifle these instincts, leading to explosive consequences. This is evident in the periodic bursts of large-scale violence throughout history. Wars, revolutions, and genocides often emerge not from an excess of aggression, but from its misdirection and repression. In the absence of rituals and structured outlets for aggression, humanity risks becoming a pressure cooker, one that eventually releases its pent-up energy in destructive outbursts. Lorenz's observations on aggression extend beyond mere physical violence. He suggests that aggression is not inherently negative. Rather, it is the force behind many of humanity's greatest achievements. Without aggression, there would be no competition, no striving for greatness, no relentless pursuit of excellence. It is this very instinct that has driven humanity to explore uncharted territories, to push the boundaries of knowledge, and to assert dominance over nature. The same drive that once led ancient warriors to conquer foreign lands now fuels scientific discoveries, artistic revolutions, and even technological innovation. However, Lorenz warns that the mismanagement of aggression poses a dire threat to civilization. He argues that in modern societies, aggression often becomes distorted and redirected into unhealthy forms, manifesting in political extremism, corporate rivalries, or even self-destructive behaviors. The digital age, with its virtual conflicts and ideological echo chambers, has provided new battlegrounds for aggression to thrive in non-physical yet equally impactful ways. Social media wars, cultural conflicts, and radical movements all stem from the same primal instinct that once determined life and death in the wilderness. The challenge, then, is not to eliminate aggression, but to understand how it can be channeled constructively. Lorenz suggests that traditional societies managed aggression through ritualized conflict, ceremonial duels, competitive sports, and structured forms of rivalry. These outlets allowed individuals to express aggression without destabilizing social order. Yet, as modern civilization distances itself from these natural mechanisms, the lack of healthy aggression outlets becomes more evident. In a world that increasingly discourages direct confrontation and competition in favor of passive coexistence, aggression often finds its way into less predictable and more insidious forms, such as passive aggression, bureaucratic violence, and ideological dogmatism. At the heart of Lorenz's argument is a fundamental question. Can civilization survive if it refuses to acknowledge the reality of human nature? He critiques the utopian vision of a society devoid of aggression, arguing that such an aspiration is both unrealistic and potentially dangerous. Attempts to suppress aggression entirely often lead to greater instability, as repressed instincts resurface in distorted ways. The key is not denial, but redirection, finding means by which aggression can serve a purpose rather than becoming a destructive force. Lorenz emphasizes that aggression, like all natural instincts, has a dual nature. It can either create or destroy, depending on how it is directed. In its most constructive form, aggression fuels ambition, discipline, and perseverance. Athletes push their limits, entrepreneurs take risks, and artists challenge conventions because they are driven by a competitive energy that propels them forward. This form of aggression, when harnessed properly, becomes a creative force, one that drives civilization toward progress rather than chaos. Yet, history has shown that when aggression is left unchecked or misdirected, it can unleash unparalleled destruction. The world wars of the 20th century serve as the ultimate example of aggression spiraling beyond control. Nationalistic fervor, ideological extremism, and unchecked technological advancements combine to produce conflicts of unprecedented scale. Lorenz warns that the increasing sophistication of human weaponry makes the consequences of uncontrolled aggression far more catastrophic than in any previous era. In primitive societies, aggressive confrontations might have resulted in small skirmishes or tribal disputes. In the modern world, such conflicts have the potential to annihilate entire civilizations. One of Lorenz's most profound insights is that aggression is not merely a personal trait, but a social phenomenon. He argues that societies, much like individuals, develop their own patterns of aggression. Some cultures, he notes, have traditionally found ways to regulate and channel aggression through rituals, storytelling, and sports. Others have attempted to suppress aggression entirely, only to see it emerge later in explosive and unpredictable ways. When aggression is neither acknowledged nor given a proper outlet, it tends to manifest in extreme and often irrational forms, leading to social unrest, political instability, and even mass violence. This raises a difficult question. How can modern civilization create effective outlets for aggression without succumbing to its destructive potential? Lorenz suggests that fostering healthy competition, whether in sports, academics, business, or the arts, is one possible answer. He also emphasizes the importance of social structures that allow individuals to express their instincts in ways that contribute to the collective good rather than undermining it. The goal, he argues, should not be to suppress aggression, but to refine and redirect it toward productive ends. Lorenz further explores the biological underpinnings of aggression, emphasizing its evolutionary significance. He argues that aggression is not an arbitrary or learned behavior, but an instinct deeply ingrained in the genetic fabric of all living creatures. This instinct evolved as a survival mechanism, enabling animals, including humans, to protect their territory, secure resources, and establish social hierarchies. In the natural world, aggression serves a crucial function in regulating populations and preventing overcrowding. Predatory aggression, for instance, ensures the survival of species by maintaining ecological balance, while intraspecific aggression, aggression within a species, prevents the dominance of weaker individuals and strengthens the overall gene pool. However, Lorenz highlights a fundamental problem. Human beings, unlike most animals, possess highly advanced cognitive abilities that interact in complex ways with their instinctual drives. While aggression in animals is often controlled by built-in inhibitory mechanisms, such as submission signals or ritualized displays of dominance, humans have the capacity to override these natural restraints. This is both a blessing and a curse. On one hand, it allows for intellectual and moral reasoning to regulate aggressive impulses. On the other, it also enables humans to commit acts of violence on an unprecedented scale, often without the natural checks and balances found in the animal kingdom. One of the most dangerous consequences of human intelligence, Lorenz warns, is the ability to rationalize aggression in ideological terms. Unlike animals, which fight for immediate survival needs, humans often engage in conflict over abstract ideas, religion, political ideologies, national identity, and economic power. This type of aggression is particularly insidious because it is not governed by the natural self-limiting mechanisms that regulate physical combat. Instead, it can escalate indefinitely as individuals and groups become convinced that their cause justifies any level of destruction. This, he argues, is one of the fundamental causes of war, genocide, and terrorism. Despite the grim implications of this realization, Lorenz does not advocate for the suppression of aggression. Rather, he insists that the key to a stable civilization lies in understanding and managing this instinct, rather than pretending it does not exist. He argues that cultures which acknowledge and redirect aggression toward constructive outlets, such as competitive sports, artistic expression, and intellectual debate, tend to be more resilient and less prone to large-scale violence. Conversely, societies that attempt to suppress aggression entirely often face internal collapse, as repressed energies eventually explode in destructive ways. Lorenz expands on this idea by discussing the role of aggression in social bonding. Contrary to popular belief, he argues that aggression is not always a force of division, but can also serve as a unifying element within groups. Throughout history, shared struggles have fostered deep social cohesion, strengthening the bonds between individuals who identify with the same cause, nation, or ideology. War, despite its horrific consequences, has often been accompanied by a sense of brotherhood among soldiers, a phenomenon that underscores the paradoxical nature of aggression. It can both destroy and unite, depending on how it is directed. This insight leads Lorenz to explore the concept of in-group versus out-group aggression. While aggression within a group is often ritualized and controlled through social norms, aggression directed toward outsiders can be far more brutal and unrestrained. Human history is filled with examples of societies that have defined their identity through opposition to an external enemy. Nationalism, religious conflicts, and ideological struggles are often fueled by this deeply ingrained psychological mechanism. By uniting against a common foe, groups reinforce internal solidarity, even at the cost of dehumanizing those outside their community. One of the most pressing dangers of modern civilization, Lorenz argues, is that the mechanisms which once regulated aggression have been disrupted by rapid technological and social changes. Traditional societies maintained a balance through rituals, structured hierarchies, and gradual cultural evolution. However, the modern world, characterized by urbanization, digital communication, and the rapid spread of information, has altered the way aggression manifests. People no longer resolve conflicts through direct physical competition or clearly defined social structures. Instead, aggression often takes the form of ideological polarization, cyberbullying, or systemic violence hidden behind layers of bureaucracy. This shift, Lorenz warns, has created a dangerous psychological environment where aggression is both omnipresent and elusive. Unlike in primitive societies where aggressive confrontations had clear resolutions, modern aggression often festers in an unresolved state. Political disputes linger indefinitely, online conflicts escalate without physical consequences, and social tensions simmer beneath the surface, waiting for an outlet. This lack of resolution can lead to chronic frustration, alienation, and, ultimately, large-scale social upheaval. Lorenz emphasizes that one of the most pressing challenges of modern civilization is the lack of natural outlets for aggression. Unlike in primitive societies where physical contests, hunting, and warfare provided direct and tangible expressions of aggression, contemporary society has largely eliminated such outlets. While this reduction in physical violence is undeniably a mark of progress, it also creates new psychological dilemmas. Humans still possess the same aggressive instincts as their ancestors, yet they are often discouraged from expressing them openly. This can lead to frustration, anxiety, and the redirection of aggression into more insidious forms, such as passive aggression, resentment, or ideological extremism. One of the greatest dangers of suppressed aggression, Lorenz argues, is its tendency to find destructive release in unexpected ways. Throughout history, societies that have attempted to suppress aggression entirely have often found themselves plagued by sudden and extreme outbreaks of violence. He points to historical examples in which political repression and cultural pacification created conditions ripe for revolution, mass hysteria, or even genocide. The lesson is clear. Aggression does not simply disappear when it is ignored. It accumulates, waiting for an opportunity to erupt. However, Lorenz does not take a purely fatalistic view of human aggression. Instead, he suggests that the key to managing this instinct lies in providing constructive channels for its expression. Sports, for example, serve as a ritualized form of combat that allows individuals to compete, assert dominance, and test their limits without causing real harm. Artistic and intellectual expression can also serve as outlets for aggression, transforming violent impulses into creative energy. Even healthy debate and political activism, when conducted within ethical boundaries, can be seen as structured forms of social aggression that drive progress rather than destruction. Despite these potential solutions, Lorenz warns that modern society is failing to create adequate substitutes for the primal outlets that once regulated aggression. As people become more disconnected from physical reality, spending more time in digital spaces, engaging in passive entertainment, and avoiding direct confrontation, aggression is increasingly channeled into abstract and unproductive forms. Ideological battles, social media conflicts, and bureaucratic power struggles have taken the place of physical combat. Yet they lack the resolution and catharsis that traditional forms of aggression provided. Instead of engaging in a decisive battle with a clear winner and loser, modern aggression often lingers indefinitely, leading to chronic frustration and escalating tension. Lorenz further argues that the failure to acknowledge aggression as a natural instinct has led to misguided attempts to eliminate it rather than manage it. Many modern ideologies operate under the assumption that aggression is purely a learned behavior, something that can be eradicated through education, social conditioning, or legal frameworks. However, Lorenz insists that this view is both naive and dangerous. If aggression were merely a cultural artifact, societies that heavily emphasize nonviolence would have eliminated it entirely. But history has repeatedly shown that even the most peace-oriented civilizations have fallen into periods of intense conflict. The reality is that aggression is hardwired into human nature, and any attempt to deny it only increases the risk of it manifesting in unpredictable ways. He points to the paradox of civilizations that seek to repress aggression but end up cultivating it in more destructive forms. In authoritarian societies where public expressions of aggression are harshly punished, resentment festers beneath the surface, often culminating in violent revolutions or mass uprisings. In contrast, societies that allow for controlled, structured expressions of aggression through sports, debate, and artistic subversion tend to be more stable. Lorenz suggests that the healthiest civilizations are those that strike a balance between restraint and expression, acknowledging the necessity of aggression while preventing it from becoming destructive. One of his most profound insights is that the suppression of aggression often leads to its transformation into self-directed violence. When people are unable to express their aggressive instincts outwardly, they may turn them inward, leading to increased rates of depression, anxiety, and even suicide. Lorenz warns that modern society, in its attempt to eliminate visible aggression, may have inadvertently contributed to an epidemic of internalized suffering. The rise of mental health disorders in industrialized nations, he argues, may be partially attributed to the lack of legitimate outlets for natural human instincts. This issue becomes even more concerning when considering the role of technology. In previous eras, aggression found expression through physical activity, as warfare, and direct social competition. Today, however, aggression is often expressed in virtual environments where there are no real-world consequences. Online arguments, political polarization, and ideological extremism all serve as modern substitutes for physical conflict, but they lack the resolution that traditional aggression once provided. Instead of ending in clear victory or defeat, digital conflicts drag on indefinitely, fueling frustration and deepening divisions within society. Lorenz warns that as aggression becomes increasingly detached from real-world consequences, it mutates into forms that are both more persistent and more destabilizing. In the past, physical confrontations often had a clear resolution, whether through victory, defeat, or mutual understanding. In contrast, modern aggression, particularly in digital spaces, operates without closure. Online conflicts, ideological feuds, and political rivalries can continue indefinitely, fostering resentment and division that are never fully resolved. This endless cycle of hostility, fueled by technology and media, creates a world in which aggression is always present but never truly addressed. Another critical aspect of Lorenz's argument is the role of desensitization. He observes that as aggression is increasingly mediated through screens and abstract systems, individuals become less aware of its real consequences. Soldiers in ancient warfare confronted their enemies face to face, experiencing the immediate moral and emotional weight of their actions. Today, acts of aggression, whether through drone warfare, cyberbullying, or corporate exploitation, often occur from a distance, removing the natural inhibitions that once moderated violent impulses. Lorenz fears that this detachment could lead to a future in which human aggression, no longer constrained by empathy or direct confrontation, spirals into unprecedented levels of cruelty and destruction. Despite these concerns, Lorenz does not believe that civilization is doomed to be consumed by aggression. Rather, he insists that awareness and understanding are the keys to managing this instinct in a way that benefits society rather than undermines it. He argues that education should not focus solely on suppressing aggression, but on channeling it constructively, teaching individuals how to compete ethically, resolve conflicts productively, and express their instincts through art, science, and sports, can create a society where aggression serves as a driving force for progress rather than a source of ruin. He also emphasizes the importance of social structures that encourage cooperative competition rather than destructive conflict. When aggression is directed toward shared goals, such as scientific discovery, athletic excellence, or cultural innovation, it becomes a force that elevates rather than divides. Lorenz suggests that, rather than fearing aggression, society should seek to understand it, harness it, and integrate it into a vision of civilization that acknowledges both the light and dark aspects of human nature. Thus, On Aggression is not a call to arms but a call to wisdom. Lorenz invites us to look honestly at ourselves, to recognize the forces that shape us, and to take responsibility for guiding them in ways that create rather than destroy. Civilization is not about denying human nature, but about mastering it. And in a world increasingly defined by abstract conflicts and digital warfare, the challenge of understanding aggression has never been more urgent. If you seek knowledge and wisdom, if you wish to understand the hidden forces that shape human destiny, then you must always question, always learn, and always explore. Subscribe to the channel, not just for more content, but as an act of intellectual rebellion, because true wisdom begins with a single step toward understanding.